You know, a lot of people accuse Hollywood directors nowadays of sort of passing the buck or of lacking a sense of self awareness or not taking responsibility for their own creative decisions or their own decisions in general, their own lives. And it seems to me that Tim Miller seems to be hell bent on proving that absolutely 100% correct. Because Tim Miller, instead of taking a look at what he did and what could have possibly gotten him fired from Deadpool 2, and he wants to blame his lack of creative control as the issue behind the dismal failure of Terminator Dark Fate. One of the great things about working with someone like James Cameron is that James Cameron has a very long pedigree, a book of business, as you were. And you can take from that, you can sort of pick the mind and incorporate that into your own style in a way. But you see, now the new Hollywood director doesn't think that way. Because the new Hollywood director wants to do it his way. He doesn't want to, with James Cameron, you know, the guy who directed Aliens and True Lies and you know, Terminator 2 and Terminator 1, you know, the Terminators, the good ones, you know, that guy. We don't want to listen to him because, you know, what does he know? I mean, he only has like the two biggest box office movies of all time. What the hell does he know? No. It's about my creative control. I need to be able to make my vision. See, here's the problem when it comes to directors like Tim Miller. Tim Miller wants to create his vision on somebody else's ideas. You get what I'm trying to say here? It's somebody else's ideas. It's somebody else's intellectual property. It's somebody else's baby that he comes in and he wants to adopt. And he wants it to make it grow into something that belongs to him. And you know what's crazy about that? Most people don't like that. And I don't care if you're a big-time Hollywood director or just some rinky-dink guy on the corner. You don't want people coming and taking your stuff and trying to make it into something that's garbage. You just don't want it. Deadpool is the perfect example of what Tim Miller really is. You see, in Deadpool 1, Tim Miller, that was his first one. That was the first time Tim Miller ever directed a picture. And so he gave away a lot of that creative control. And it came out to be a really, really good movie. Because, you know what? Tim Miller is not a bad filmmaker. He may be a bad storyteller from what we see in Terminator Dark Fate, but he's not that bad. He has a good eye. He composes the shots. So after Deadpool 1, there was some success. Everyone was happy. Well, you know what? That success went to Tim Miller's head. And Tim Miller said, you know what? I want more creative control. I want my stamp on this. But you know what? Ryan Reynolds said, no, bitch. This is my character. These are my movies. When you think of Deadpool, you don't think of Tim Miller. You think of Ryan Reynolds. And so when it came down to Deadpool 2, Ryan Reynolds said, you know what, Tim? I think it's time for you to go. And you know what? That probably should have happened here in Terminator Dark Fate. He comes into Terminator. He's got the success of Deadpool still ringing in Hollywood executives' ears. Oh, wow, Tim Miller, he's a great director, man. You see that what he did with Deadpool? Oh, yeah. Right? And guess what happens? He gets in there. James Cameron says, what is wrong with you? This isn't Terminator. I think I know Terminator. And Tim Miller says, no, I want more control. He films what he wants to film. And then when it comes down to the editing, which is where James Cameron had to take control and said, what is this garbage piece of garbage that you're giving me? He pretty much shut Tim Miller out and said, no, You filmed a bunch of garbage. Let's hear what Tim Miller has to say about it. I'm sure we could write a book on why it didn't work. It would be a very short book because everyone already knows why it doesn't work. It didn't work because you were trying to shove an agenda into a story that did not necessitate that. It didn't work because you walked into an intellectual property and you had no respect for that property. That's why it didn't work. That's it. Book over. I'm still not sure and I'm processing, but I'm very proud of the movie. If you are not sure why your movie didn't work, why didn't you ask people? I'm sure they'll tell you. Ask people outside of Hollywood why your movie didn't work. I'm sure they'll tell you. There's no processing involved. It didn't work. And you shouldn't be proud of the movie. What is with, and Elizabeth Banks said the same thing. I'm still proud of this movie. Why are you proud of your failure? You can't learn from your failure if you're proud of it. You have to get up. You have to say, oh crap, what did I do wrong here? You have to figure it out and you have to keep moving forward. You don't let it stop you, but you don't act delusional about it. It's a failure. Oh my goodness, what's dramatic about it? I suggested Legion is so powerful, the only way to beat it is going back in time and strangle it in the crib. I really don't even know what you mean by that. I actually had a video, and if you've made it this far in this video, you'll probably find it very interesting. I had a video, and I'll put it upstairs, that I actually talked about what I would have done differently with the John Connor character. He does not care about that character at all. He's still talking about Legion and it's so powerful, they have to go back. Legion was a stupid idea in the first place. You're going to make... It's like in The Force Awakens, where they have Starkiller Base, which is just a roided up Death Star. It's like, you might have just had a damn Death Star. You know what I'm saying? What was the point of it? So, and strangling the crib. Miller says, Jim says, what's dramatic about the humans losing? And I say, well, what's dramatic about the humans winning? And they just need to keep on winning. I like a last stand. It's not his thing. Whatevs. It's like, whatever. I think maybe even at that point, James Cameron was so already over. Like there's other things in the plot. And he says it was very early in development, but he probably came at James Cameron with a bunch of ideas. And this is just the one that he picked out. And Cameron thought that most of these ideas were pretty garbage. And so at this point, Jim Cameron's like, what are we really doing here? What are we trying to do? What's the message we're trying to tell here? Like, what's going on? You know, what kind of movie are we trying to make? And he probably just said, hey, where's the drama in all this stuff? What's dramatic about the humans losing? Tell me what's dramatic about it. And Tim Miller's like, I can't actually tell you what's dramatic about it. All I can do is, some stupid ass remark. Well, what's dramatic about the humans winning? I'm not saying I'm right, but I know that you're wrong. It's like, come on, my youth. What's up with you, man? I found this very interesting. Where here, Miller said that Cameron also did not like small lines in the dialogue that Miller found poetic and beautiful. I can tell you right now why. Because when you have lines like, you're not the mother of some man, I'm sure you thought that was poetic and beautiful. And that's why James Cameron, you probably had even more lines in there that just sounded god-awful. And James Cameron said, nah, Mayu, balk up. Balk up. You ain't getting it done. The filmmaker was powerless in this station because Cameron and producer David Ellison had Final Cut privileges, and thank the mightiest of all mighties for that. Because who would have... Oh, what kind of movie would we have gotten had Tim Miller had his way? My name is still on it as director. Even if I'm going to lose the fight, I still feel this obligation to fight because that is what the director is supposed to do. Fight for the movie. Yeah, you're in there as director, but this is where I think you really, really are a delusional idiot. You forget that you might be the director, but James Cameron is Terminator. He created this whole thing. It's just like J.J. Abrams may be the director of The Rise of Skywalker, but at the end of the day, he is not intertwined to Star Wars in the same way that George Lucas is. That was the big problem with Star Wars. They didn't sit there and say to themselves, this is not our baby. We're here to continue on a story. We're not here to create anything. We're here... Okay, let me say it like this, because it's not that you're not here to create anything, because you are here to create things, but you're not here to change the lore or the feel of the franchise. You are there to continue the story. You're there to be creative and figure out a way to make it so that it grows, it continues. And that's what they don't get. You may be the director, and this may be your movie, but it ain't your franchise. It ain't your property. You're one and done, buddy. You're out of here. So, he says that Miller's experience with Cameron came after he left the directing gig for Deadpool 2 over a similar reason. It became clear that Ryan wanted to be in control of the franchise because Ryan is Deadpool. Cameron is Terminator. Lucas is Star Wars. Come on, guys. It's that simple. You are the director of one film in a franchise. One film in a franchise. All right. What's that? You can work that way as a director quite successfully, but I can't. I don't mind having a debate. See, there's a difference between having a debate. See, this is another thing too. There's been such a big push of between the children growing up where we try to resolve our conflicts in a passive sort of way that we don't know how to confront things in a way that is productive. So Ryan's the face of the franchise, and he was the most important component of that by far. So if he decides he wants to control it, then he's going to control it. Yeah. So this is what I think you should do then, Tim. I think you should come up, right, with your own intellectual property. And then from there, you could control everything. Let's see if you can get somebody to finance your next movie when your Terminator did so poorly. I'm sure that there will. Somebody will finance your next big picture, and you'll have the sort of budgets that you had from, Deadpool and this one and the Terminator. And he said he has no hard feelings against Cameron. As far as future projects, he just doesn't want to be in a situation again where I have no control to do what I think is right. I think that you will never, ever, ever have that problem again. Because I think no one will work with you after what just happened with this movie. Your saving grace would have been if this movie would have done super, super well. And Cameron would have been the type of person that would have took a back seat to it and said, oh, Tim Miller, great guy. We had our issues in there, but man, we really put out a picture that, was great and stuff like that. Even if he didn't really feel like it was that awesome, he probably would have said that. And that would have been your saving grace. But this failure exposed you, bruh. Exposed you. You're a hack, one-trick pony, and I would love to see you try it again. Love to see you try to go out there and make your own intellectual property. Go do it. Have a good one, guys.